Laughter is usually a sign of happiness and joy, something light and uplifting. But imagine if laughter became something completely different, something that could disrupt entire communities, shut down schools, and leave doctors baffled. That's exactly what happened in 1962 in Tanganyika, which is now known as Tanzania. The country had just gained independence the previous year on December 9th, 1961, and was going through a time of big social changes. What began as a simple outbreak of laughter soon grew into a strange and disturbing epidemic that gripped villages and towns for months. This wasn't just laughter for fun, it was uncontrollable, exhausting, and deeply unsettling. Over the next few parts, we'll explore what really happened during this mysterious event, how it spread, and what it might teach us about the power of the human mind. The strange epidemic began in a small village called Kashasha, near Lake Victoria. On January 30th, 1962, just 3 schoolgirls at a mission-run boarding school started laughing, and they simply could not stop. Their laughter was uncontrollable and often mixed with crying and obvious distress, which made it clear this wasn't ordinary amusement. Within days, the laughter had spread to 95 of the 159 students at the school. Teachers watched helplessly as the students became unable to focus on their lessons. The situation escalated so rapidly that by March 18th, less than 2 months later, the school was forced to close and send the students home. Officials hoped this would end the outbreak, but instead it sparked something far bigger, allowing the laughter epidemic to spread beyond the school and into the wider community. Calling it a laughter epidemic doesn't capture how complex and troubling the situation really was. The uncontrollable laughter was just the most visible symptom, but it rarely brought joy. Many affected people experienced intense bouts of crying alongside the laughter, sometimes switching rapidly between the two. Physical symptoms were common, including severe headaches, fainting, and difficulty breathing during the laughing fits. Some even developed rashes. Beyond the physical, many reported feelings of deep fear and restlessness. Some ran aimlessly or became aggressive when restrained. Patients described sensations like being chased or having strange movements inside their heads. These episodes could last from a few hours to as long as 16 days and could return repeatedly after periods of normalcy. This was a frightening and exhausting experience that went far beyond what anyone expected from an outbreak of laughter. When the Kashasha school finally closed on March 18, 1962, the laughter didn't stop. It traveled with the students back to their home villages. Rather than ending the outbreak, sending the girls home caused it to ripple outward, sparking new cases in nearby communities. One of the earliest and largest secondary outbreaks happened in Shamba, a village about 55 miles from Bukoba, where many of the affected girls lived. Between April and May of that year, approximately 217 people out of a population around 10,000 experienced similar uncontrollable laughter and distress. These cases were mostly young adults and school children, including both boys and girls. The epidemic continued to spread in a pattern closely following the students' movements. When a student from the Iramashenye Girls Middle School near Bukoba returned home, another outbreak erupted there, affecting nearly a third of the students. Kanyangareka village also saw its own wave after a student carried the condition home. In total, the epidemic affected up to 1,000 people and forced 14 schools to shut down for periods ranging from 6 months to 18 months. Life in these areas was severely disrupted, with daily routines ground to a halt. Interestingly, the epidemic predominantly impacted young people, especially girls, while adults and teachers largely remained unaffected, deepening the mystery and anxiety surrounding the outbreak. As the laughter epidemic spread and schools remained closed, medical professionals scrambled to understand what was happening. Teams of doctors and researchers launched investigations, determined to find a physical cause behind the bizarre symptoms. They collected blood samples from affected individuals and those who had recovered, but tests revealed no viruses or infectious agents. Researchers explored environmental factors too, testing water and food supplies for toxins or contamination. One theory suggested poisoning from plants like datura seeds, but the symptoms and patterns didn't match up. Importantly, the illness didn't spread through contaminated food or water, but seemed to follow social interactions, which baffled investigators. Despite extensive testing and analysis, no clear physical cause was identified, leaving the medical community perplexed. The absence of any infectious or toxic agent intensified the confusion and fear among both villagers and officials, deepening the mystery of the laughter epidemic. With no physical cause found, experts turned their attention to psychological explanations. The leading theory became mass psychogenic illness, sometimes called mass hysteria, where psychological distress manifests as real physical symptoms in groups of people. Importantly, those affected were not pretending. Their symptoms were genuine and could be severe. To understand why this happened in Tanganyika, it's key to look at the social context of the time. The country had just gained independence from British rule in December 1961, bringing major changes and uncertainty. Young people in mission schools faced increased pressure to succeed under stricter rules and new expectations. This mix of cultural tension, stress, and fear created a perfect psychological storm. The laughter epidemic can be seen as a collective response to this overwhelming anxiety, a way for the mind to express what words couldn't. The laughter epidemic didn't just stay in one place, it spread rapidly across villages and schools. This wasn't because of a virus or infection, but due to the way people influence each other's behavior, especially in tight communities. Seeing classmates or neighbors laughing uncontrollably could trigger the same reaction in others, especially when everyone was already stressed and anxious, and young people, particularly teenagers, are more susceptible to this kind of social influence because fitting in is so important to them. In this case, laughter acted like a chain reaction, passing from person to person, almost like an emotional epidemic. Adults with different social roles and coping mechanisms mostly remained unaffected. This pattern highlights how powerful our minds and social environments are in shaping physical experiences, especially in times of collective stress. Just as suddenly as it began, the laughter epidemic in Tanganyika gradually faded over the next 6 to 18 months. No specific medical treatment ended it. Instead, it slowly ran its course, leaving behind disrupted communities and schools. 14 schools had closed, some for over a year, deeply affecting the education of hundreds of students. While nobody died directly from the epidemic, many struggled with concentration and emotional distress long after the laughter stopped. Today, this event remains one of the most well-documented cases of mass psychogenic illness, showing how psychological stress can manifest as physical symptoms on a large scale. Despite the mass psychogenic illness explanation, many questions linger about why laughter, of all symptoms, dominated and how it moved through these communities so intensely. The 1962 laughter epidemic reminds us of the incredible and sometimes mysterious ways our minds, bodies, and societies are connected, especially during times of upheaval and uncertainty.